Hi, so I am doing another one of the walks with Lottie. I had a nice email the other day after sending out one of the newsletters, and somebody said, I hope you're going to bring back the walks with Lottie because they were a good listen. So thank you very much for that. I kind of was wondering whether to keep doing these. I'm just recording this on my phone at the moment, so I hope it sounds okay. But yeah, little ramble while I ramble. Even if there's only a few people listen to it, I thought, yeah, okay, I'll try and do it. I can see on my phone here that I recorded one back in November, and as you know, things went a bit pear-shaped in November, and I sort of injured well, I thought it was my shoulder, but turned out to be a trapped nerve in my neck, which is rather painful. So everything went out the window for quite a while, but almost completely better now. It's one of those things you've got to give it time and little physiotherapy exercises to fix, but pleased to say, as I said in the last newsletter, that getting back to work, picking up the novel from where I left off, slightly daunting task because there's a lot to remember in the kind of mysteries I write, with all the different plot lines and the people who are red herrings and so on, and yeah, I've got to try and remember it all. So doing quite a bit of reading and rereading of stuff I've already done, going backwards and forwards, and sometimes I find notes that say things like, you know, go and fix such and such, because it seems too easy of a clue, and then I hunt it down and find I've already fixed it some time ago. So it's just one of those things that must have been I don't know, one of those odd thoughts that recurs sometimes, like wondering if you've left the gas on, I suppose, worrying that I've left a plot hole or made something too obvious. So navigating all those things, and navigating a field at the moment. And although it's been cold recently again, there's frost. Don't know if you can hear it crunching on the grass. Really bright sunshine, clear blue skies. Just taking a few pictures trying to capture the frost on the fields, but it doesn't always show in the photo how lovely it is to look out over the fields when they're all white and gleaming in the sunshine and glistening with frost. Very picturesque. Put me in mind today of the Shire or something from the Lord of the Rings and the Hobbit. But yeah, I just feel a bit like that sometimes. I wouldn't be at all surprised to see a little elf come out of the trees or something. Anyway, so yeah, as usual, I don't have a particular topic other than anything that occurs to me as I'm going around, and I am hoping to do some other podcast type things soon, and I want to do some things, different audio things as well, because I do enjoy it. It's just kind of a way of sort of journaling really, and keeping up to date with that. I'm trying to do a pen and paper journal at the moment as well, but I started off really well with that, and that fell by the wayside the last few days, but I'll get back to that, because that's quite nice, just putting down some different things that you think, get the thoughts out of your head and onto paper. It's interesting. Somebody asked me the other day, thinking about writing and how it all works, because you do get kind of a bit obsessed with it after a while when this is your kind of not just your job, but your kind of way of life really. It's like what you are, rather than just what you do. And they were saying, do you sort of notice if you're watching a film or something? And the answer is yes, probably, if it's not very good. I mean, you tend to spot writing mistakes, and that can kind of spoil things for me when I'm watching a film. If something looks very heavy-handed or kind of clunky or just a bit too easy. Happens a lot with Hollywood movies, I have to say, but a lot of TV shows are very odd in the way they treat characters really. I think particularly they tend not to take the time to develop the characters. And the other thing is that I think they often kind of talk down to the audience a bit too much. I think all that money at stake, those millions of dollars, and the big producers think everything's got to be, kind of, I don't really like the phrase dumbed down, but I think we all know what it means, that it's got to be simplified, not leaving much for the viewer to imagine for themselves. I always think that's a shame. Right, Lottie, let's go back this way now. Let's reach the end of this field. Good girl, come on. That's it. So yeah, I do often notice things that are badly done, and I did say that. I said to the person who asked me, I said, well, if it's well done, you don't notice it. I think the aim of the writer in a novel or a film or TV show or whatever, or a play or anything, is really to try and disappear. I think if they can see your grubby paw prints all over it, they've not done such a good job. Can vary a little bit depending on the kind of genre and the point of view used, but yeah, on the whole, you try and disappear. And if I come away thinking, oh, that was a really great film or whatever, then that usually means it's been well written. I think people talk about the actors a lot and the directors, but actually, if the work hasn't been done into the foundations, of a really good solid script, then I think it's probably hard to get the story out of it. But occasionally I notice really good things as well. I was really pleased that there's a TV series, sort of northern noir, set in Yorkshire, called Happy Valley, which is quite popular, and I didn't watch it when it first came out, but because people are making a big deal of this new series, the third series has just come out, just this month I believe it started, I thought, well, I'll go back and give it a go. So I went back to the first one, because the wonderful thing about streaming is it was all there. So I went back to the first series, Sue and I, and watched it, and I thought it was really good, actually. I thought it was well written. We're now still on the second series, which I'm not quite so keen on. But the point of this rambling thing was, I think it was in episode 4, the police officer, who's a police sergeant, a uniformed sergeant, played admirably by Susan Hampshire, meets a CID, a detective character that she's obviously known from before, and they just look at each other in a way that shows it. Nothing's said, nothing's explained. They just sort of look at each other slightly askance, and the viewer thinks, oh, hang on, I bet they've had an affair or something. They've had a previous relationship or an entanglement of some sort. And that wasn't it, which I quite liked, the fact that they didn't go for the obvious thing. And he just said, how long have you been back in uniform, to her? And up until then, you were just thinking, well, she's kind of a super cop. She's running around doing everything. She's obviously smart and feisty and strong-willed and all these brilliant things. But you didn't know until then that she'd been a detective. Now, if you compare that to a lot of things where we see the first bit is all about how, the disgraced person, drops out of the FBI or the detective or what, loses their detective badge or whatever. It's kind of very heavy-handed, and it's done all at the beginning, and it's all kind of the point's rather laboured. There was a sort of RAF transport plane coming into view. You might be able to hear it. They come very low around here, sometimes low enough to rattle the windows right over our house. This one was here earlier, so I think maybe doing some circuits. It's a nice clear day. Guess he's practicing. It's one of those things with the big 4 propellers. Not sure what sort, I'm afraid. Anyway, but you know what I'm saying, that you get the point, very heavily laboured. They think, oh, we've got to set this up right at the beginning. And it wasn't mentioned until 4 of 6 episodes, so really quite a long way through, and all he said was, how long have you been back in uniform? And I don't know if there was some clue before then that I'd missed, but I was really surprised, and I just clapped my hands and I just thought, bravo, that is really well done. I didn't need a whole load of backstory shoving on me at the beginning, what we often call an info dump. I didn't need all that, and I'm glad it wasn't there. I'm glad it just came in bit by bit. And then in my mind, I put it all together. I put together her behaviour and the various things she's been through. And I knew why she'd left being a detective. It was obvious, really, because I knew various other backstory elements by then. And so all I needed was that little sentence, and the rest came together. So, you know, sometimes you see really good writing and you just think, oh, that's fantastic. I also sometimes smile when I hear some really nice dialogue, particularly if I don't quite understand the way that they're talking to each other. So, you know, if I'm watching something like an American TV detective series, well, there's no way I would know all the acronyms and things that they use, but of course they would use them. And I quite like working them out for myself. You know, I'm thinking of things like the Bosch series that was on Amazon, based on Michael Connelly's books. There's lots of kind of cop speak, to put it in that way, in there, and that's, you know, rings true to me. I don't know, an American person might have a different ear for that, but it made the characters seem believable as detectives and so on, and the way people discuss things. It didn't matter that I didn't really understand the ins and outs of you know, who's going to be chief of police or mayor of the city or whatever, so long as it makes sense to them and they're talking in a way that's true to their characters, then I think that really helps to build the atmosphere. So all this idea of over-explaining things, I try to really avoid that in my books. I sometimes think, oh, well, people won't know what such and such is, and I try just to sort of get around it with minimal sort of stage direction, you know, on my part. I try to keep out of it, so I try and disappear and try and put it in the context of what's going on. So somebody might say something that explains it enough, just enough. I think as long as you've got enough to follow through the story without stopping to scratch your head too much, that's okay. I mean, if it gives you pause for thought for a moment, that's okay, but any more than that, if you're starting to think, well, this is just nonsense, then you know, that's to be avoided. So I hope that's the line that I tried. It's what I kind of go for instinctively, I think. And when I'm doing the kind of editing stage where I go through it all, I'll sometimes root things out as well, and things like overuse of body language and things like that. You know, it should be obvious from what people are saying to each other, the way they're behaving. We don't need to have them scratching their head to know that they're puzzled. We don't have to actually put that in. It should be obvious. I do some of that, of course. I think any novel, well, most novels would have a certain amount of that. I try not to do too much. I do notice it a bit when I'm reading a book, if every sentence uttered, it comes with an accompanying, you know, widening of the eyes or a lifting of the eyebrows or whatever. So yeah, I use those, but I do try to spread them out and keep them sparse, just as much as is needed, really, if it's important. For instance, if somebody says something that is in contradiction to how they might feel, so they might just do the classic thing of saying, I'm fine, when asked how they are. It's the sort of thing that people always do, isn't it? Say, oh yeah, I'm fine, but you know, perhaps we see just if there's something in their body language, or, you know, a lowering of their eyebrows, a furrowing of their brow or something, or a little shake of the head or something, just lets us know that it's not quite all as it should be, not quite as fine as they're making out. Still in a plane somewhere, can't see it though now. Anyway, I digress. Talking about planes, Lottie, come back this way. When I do this, and she knows that I'm chatting away, distracted, she wanders off all over the place, going sniff sniff to her heart's content. Now she's ignoring me. Lottie, come on, come back here. Good girl. Yeah, here she comes. Slow but sure. Enjoying the sunshine, I think. Getting a little bit older, poor old thing. But she keeps trudging away. As do I. So, yeah. I think that's probably enough of me chatting anyway. I've got to go and scrabble down a hill with her and then walk up the lanes. So I hope that's some kind of meaningful insight into what's going on and how I go about things. I'd probably repeat myself in some of these, but so be it. I mean, that's just it's just how I work, I guess. A lot of these things are revisited, and yeah, it's getting there. I'll be hopefully updating more with the progress as we get on and the words start to accumulate once more. At the moment, I'm kind of finding my way and adding small numbers of words as I finish bits off. I sometimes leave like placeholder things that there might be a bit of just dialogue that has occurred to me, and I've gone and put it in the right place, and I've got to go and pad it all out and turn it into a proper scene so that something's going on. Yeah, and anyway, thank you very much for listening to my slightly rambling little talk. I hope it's of some value, and if you have questions and things, anything you'd like me to talk about, please do let me know, and then I might be slightly less rambly. But it's nice that it's not windy today, thank goodness. So very still, apart from the distant rumbling of military aviation going on somewhere. Very quiet. Okay, well, take care. Happy reading. Big thank you to everyone who sent me a mug of tea via the coffee.com button on the site. And I will talk to you again soon. Bye.